We'd like to introduce Michael Lomax.
Hi, good morning.
And Michael, you are the head of the Conflict Management Office for the BC Public Service.
Yes, so I'm the Conflict Management Lead with the Conflict Management Office, and we sit within the Public Service Agency, which is like the Human Resources Department for the BC Public Service. And our role is to provide alternative dispute resolution processes, basically in the public service, to help members of the public service resolve workplace conflict.
Right. So you were talking earlier a little bit, and you mentioned that there are 4 different ways that the office really helps engage people to resolve the conflict. So what are those 4 different
Our big vision is to help with culture change so that the public service is a conflict competent culture. And early in our mandate, we've been in existence now for 2 years, we really want to focus on providing services to help people resolve disputes. And so those are conflict coaching, which is one-to-one. So I work with a coach. I may have a conflict with a coworker, but I can go off on a confidential relationship with a coach and work through what is it that's affecting me in this conflict, how am I being affected, what is it I might be doing that's affecting the other person, and learn some skills, some approaches to improve the situation. And the other person may never know I went for coaching. That's a very popular service. That's our most popular service by far. And then facilitated conversations, mediation, basically an expert from our office bringing 2 people together to help them talk through their issues and resolve them, very often using coaching to help them prepare. And then workplace conflict intervention, team processes, where you might have a toxic workplace and things have been tried before, but nothing has really helped solve the issues, and we come in and intervene and help processes like circles, training, as well as mediations, things like that, to help people work through it. And then the 4th thing is really back to that culture change piece, is around education, training. So we're just standing up a course now called Conflict Management for Leaders, focused on managers and supervisors to help them learn the skills they need to intervene in workplace conflict and try to help people address it for themselves.
That sounds really interesting. So just a quick question. We're here at the ADRBC 2018 Symposium, and what are you hoping to be able to talk to other people here about your program?
Well, one, I think, is to let people know that it does exist and that in the public service we are making efforts to incorporate all of those great principles and processes that we've learned about alternative dispute resolution, whether it be in the court system or communities, that those same things can be applied within workplaces to help prevent unnecessary harassment complaints, unnecessary grievances, and really help maintain and improve relationships. So we want people to know that we exist and the work we're doing, again, very similar in principles, but as well, we're also here to learn. We want to sort of understand from what other people are doing, how can that help us improve our own work and service.
And do you think there might be correlations to the program you're doing with the provincial government down to municipal levels?
Absolutely. When I heard the minister's remarks today about what the work that they're doing in the court system, again, a lot of correlation, because inside workplaces you can have conflicts that primarily are about relationships and about emotion, but they disagree maybe about issues or things, and those can be taken down a formal path like a harassment complaint or an investigation or a grievance. And very often, though, people don't achieve the resolution they're looking for. They're very time-consuming and very expensive for the organization. And very often, at the end of it, things for the relationships are worse off than they were at the beginning. Whereas our processes can help resolve important issues, but also be much faster and also really help maintain and even improve the relationships between the parties. So I think there's a lot of similarity between sort of the civil justice system and the lessons learned there and what we're doing. Yeah, for sure.
Well, is that part of the ability to deal with things at the sort of relational level rather than going sort of down a formal investigation path and that sort of thing?
Yes.
And is that part of why you offer such the suite of services rather than just saying here's your one service that you're going to get?
Yeah, no, absolutely, because everybody in some ways is different for what they want to achieve, and you want processes that are very accessible to people and they can start where they're at. And so if it's, I'm comfortable working with a coach by myself confidentially and maybe the other person doesn't know about that, okay, then we can offer that to you, and that may help improve things. You may improve your own skill, your own understanding of yourself, how you're showing up to conflict, and that's helpful and that contributes in a beneficial way to the organization. And then in some cases, it is two individuals who are having difficulty. And then in other cases, it's a whole team. And so again, having the right process to fit the right problem. And then same with the education piece, to where people are like, I'm not necessarily in conflict, but I want to learn the skills so I feel confident if it does come up. And so absolutely, you need different things to help people at different points where they're at, and individually who they are, what they could benefit from, what they're comfortable with.
And do you find people often take joint services, so they'll need a mediation or they'll need a facilitation, but they work with one of your coaches leading up to that process?
Absolutely, and what we've actually done is integrated that, because we found so much, like there's some sayings that we, mediation that we use, like 50% of it is how people show up to the mediation, the other 50% is the doing of it, right? Well, rather than just go, well, that's a very interesting little statistic, oh, well, hopefully they show up in a good way, is let's do something about it, right? And so we've normalized, we don't make coaching mandatory to prepare, but we've normalized it and sort of said, this is what we normally do, this is what we want to offer you, and so the vast majority of people take us up on it. And so that has a huge beneficial effect when they show up for a facilitated conversation. So there we're on purpose trying to integrate those processes, right? And then same with, they may go for a mediation, and then afterwards they're like, I realize I need to still work on some things, and then asking for coaching afterwards. And then same with our team interventions. We pull on all of the services, including training, to help those teams, because we want to make sure that we prevent disputes in the future, right?
Yeah. Real sort of like nesting, like wraparound kind of service provision.
Yeah, and even providing advice. When managers or supervisors come in to see us, they may not necessarily pick up on one of our processes, but it's trying to give them some advice about conflict resolution approaches, or even how to have the conversation with an employee, just so again that they're more effective at that. So all kinds of ways that we can be helpful.
I think some of the really exciting parts of it is that so much of it is based on capacity building.
Yes.
For the managers or the employees in general.
Yep. Yeah, because especially when you're in an internal service, you definitely have to think about what's the value that we're providing to the organization. We have to behave impartially so we can work with everyone, and in that sense we don't evaluate people's behavior or judge it.
Right.
And we work with people confidentially, but at the same time we're encouraging and helping people have the conversations they need to have. And we're concerned about workplace health as much as we are the individuals involved, the health of the whole workplace.
Great.
Thank you so much for taking some
my
time
pleasure.
out of the conference to join us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Pleasure.